One of our fantastic Patreon members gave me a build challenge. Can I build a dual wielder who mixes their martial prowess with the ability to divine the future? Well, Suave, I accept your challenge. Today, I'm bringing you the Divination Duelist. Roll that intro. So let's begin by talking about our goals and limitations. Our first limitation is a simple one. We need to be a dual wielder. Goal number 2 is that we need to be a martial first and a caster second. We've been limited to 2 types of spells. Type number 1 is divination magic. Type number 2 is spells that enhance our physical abilities, like jump, for example. And next we have our third limitation. We want to have multiple sources of mechanics, at least 2, that represent some form of future sight, and we want to have them active by level 5. That way we feel like we're getting into our divination flavor right away. So now that we have the groundwork laid out, how am I going to go about putting this build together? Well, let's start with the lineage. I went with the stout halfling. Why? Well, lucky is the perfect feature for this build, because you're walking down the stairs, you roll a natural one, and now you're stumbling down the stairs, but nay, we are a stout halfling, we see into the future, so no, we get to walk down the stairs like a true pro. On top of that, we have brave, which gives us advantage on being frightened. So that is going to really help us out because we don't have a great wisdom save. And speaking of stats, we actually get the perfect stats from the stout halfling, whether or not we're using the Tasha's variant, so that's why we went stout halfling. As for our stats, we have dex primary, constitution secondary, intelligence tertiary, and all remainder into wisdom to try and give us as much of a save base as we can. As for our leveling structure, I went 5 levels into the Psi Warrior, then I went 2 levels into the Divination Wizard, and then the remainder of all of our levels is going to be going back into the Psi Warrior Fighter. So let's jump into the key ideas here. Right at level 1, we're going to get our fighting style, and we can pick up the dual wielding fighting style. It's hard to be a dual wielder without the dual wielding fighting style. It just helps us out that much more. At level 3, we're going to get psionic power. Psionic power is another one of those features that can be flavored like divination magic. So we have the ability to give our allies a shield or ourselves, we have the ability to do some extra damage, or we have the ability to move some things with our mind. Now those first 2 can really be flavored like divination magic. Instead of creating the psychic shield around someone, what we can do is we can roleplay that we're calling out to them, hey, you're about to be shot by an arrow from that guy. And so they know, they get that extra moment of realization and can kind of dodge out of the way and take less damage. Alternatively, our psi empowered strike, we can say that we can see the way our enemy is moving, so we can target a very specific spot and kind of get a critical hit type idea, just doing that additional psychic damage. Pretty neat. In other words, I am leaning away from the psionic side of Psi Warrior and making it more of a divination flavor. So it's a liberal changing of the flavor, but keeping the mechanics. At level 4, we get a feat, and I'm taking the alert feat because once again, it represents a divination type knowledge. We have alert, so we can never be surprised because we see into the future just enough to never be surprised. Pretty neat. Now once we hit level 5, of course, we get our extra attack, but more importantly, we've hit our goal. We were requested to have at least 2 instances of divination magic and to be primarily a martial by level 5. We are that. We are someone who runs up there, does our base attacks as well as a bonus action attack, and then we get to mix it in with our divination flavor, basically getting to say no to certain situations. Our next 2 levels are going to be into wizard, and we're going to continue that theme. Level 1 is actually really important for wizard. The most important reason why is that we get silvery barbs. Silvery barbs is another way of us changing the future. An enemy is doing an attack that is particularly good, and we see that happening, and so we move to interject with that future and we flavor it as silvery barbs. So now our reaction is weaponized in a divination magic type style, which is really important because our action and bonus action are already pretty much consumed. Not only is silvery barbs crucial to this build, it's also one of the few spells we can actually cast in combat, and that's because we're holding 2 weapons. We're not holding a focus, and so we can't do somatic or material component spells, and luckily silvery barbs is only verbal. So that's the only spell I'm really going to be casting in combat, but out of combat we can cast other spells. We can cast physical enhancement spells like Long Strider or Jump, and if you're feeling a little bit flexible with the rules, you could also cast Find Familiar to have a familiar with you as you run around. The last thing I'm going to do with this first level into Wizard at level 6 is going to pick up Mind Sliver. It's another just verbal spell, but it gives us a little bit of range, which is nice. We just want to have a bit of extra range because we are only melee at this point, and that's only going to get us to medium range. We're still not going to be good at long range, but still at least we have an option for some situations. Now we're not going to have an incredibly high intelligence, but luckily we're targeting their intelligence save, so it's going to be surprisingly consistent despite us not having the most intelligence or being a cantrip oriented build. I think Long Strider is kind of an important spell for this build, but not mechanically, but because of the flavor. I'm getting a very, very nimble vibe from this build. It's like we can see into the future, but we have to have a body that can move to react to that future. And so I see us like dodging attacks really close close, and that's how I'd be describing this character a lot. Really nimble, really acrobatic, and I would be talking about a lot of close calls whenever I use one of my features to dodge an attack. But next comes level 7, and that is our level 2 in Divination Wizard. This is our Portent level. Portent is crazy good. It's insane that we can get it at level 2. It's so good that even at level 7, we're really excited to get it, and it's perfect for the exact flavor of this build. Twice a day, we can change a dice roll using our reaction to whatever we rolled in the morning. Fantastic. Now for our second ASI, we have some options that we can do here. We can start picking up more in dexterity to increase our damage output. We can pick up bountiful luck so that we can take our lucky feat and now give it to our allies as a reaction, kind of continuing this divination vibe. Alternatively, we could take up resilient wisdom and try and pad out our wisdom save a bit. Sky's the limit, you decide what you want to do. Now this is the core of the build, and what you do afterwards is up to you, but let's get into some nuance. Let's say that you decide to do the route I suggested and go more into fighter. Well, at level 10, Psi Warrior gets Guarded Mind. Guarded Mind allows us to use one of our Psi dice to just end the Charmed or Frightened condition on us. Combined with our halfling Frightened resistance, this is a pretty big incentive for us not to take resilient wisdom at 8 and to kind of use this feature to pad our wisdom saves just to quickly end all these conditions they put on us. So we basically fail the save and then just use our Psi dice to end it. Pretty awesome. And what this does for us is it really opens up more stats or feats. So what we built here is an aggressive striker who changes the flow of battlefield, taking all of our enemies' good rolls and making them worse, and all of our allies' bad rolls and making them better, all while maintaining this super speedy stabby playstyle. It's a really awesome flavor and a really awesome suggestion, and I want to give a shout out to TheSuavestOrange, our Patreon, who recommended this build. Now they used a deity credit. They're the first to use a deity credit. What is a deity credit? Well, if you join us at the deity level Patreon tier, then you get a deity credit, and what you can do with that is you can have us make a build for you. You can have us make a one-shot for you. You can just join one of our one-shots, and pretty much anything of similar value that you request from us, we'll take it into consideration. On top of this, you'll also get access to the Exorbitant Dream Casino one-shot. This is a one-shot being built by the D&D Daily team, and if you are a deity level Patreon, then you get to have alpha testing of it. We'll send it your way, you get to play it, and you will have a say in what we change before the final product is released. What is the Exorbitant Dream Casino? Well, on the surface, it's a fully functioning casino that you can put into any of your campaign cities. So if you just want a casino there that your party can go to and it has games for them to play, and I made sure all the games are unique, interesting, and are multiplayer. So it's not just you gambling with one person, everyone can gamble against everyone else. I think that makes the casino environment a lot more fun. Now that's on the surface, but just under the surface, you might find that there is a smuggling operation being run by the Emerald Thorns gang. So there's a bit of a one-shot adventure you can also opt into. I think it's pretty awesome, and I'm proud of the work that the team has put into it, and I hope you guys will enjoy it if you decide to become alpha testers. So long story short, we'd love you guys to check out our Patreon, and just know that you are supporting the channel while you do so. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.